Okay, so today we're going to deep dive into something pretty interesting happening in Hyderabad.
Hmm.
It's about this brand new train station that just opened up.
Oh, yeah, the Cherlapally Terminal.
Exactly, yeah, the Cherlapally Railway Terminal in Telangana, big
Hmm.
fancy thing, Prime Minister himself even showed up for the ribbon cutting back in January.
I remember seeing that it was quite a big deal.
Oh, yeah, huge investment, like 413 crore rupees.
Wow.
So yeah, the whole point of it, like the big idea was to like take some of the pressure off those other big train stations in Hyderabad, you
Oh,
know?
right, those main hubs,
Mm-hmm.
Secunderabad, Hyderabad, and what's the other one?
Kacheguda.
Kacheguda, yeah. Those are always packed.
Always. And it's only getting worse, with more and more people coming into the city.
Yeah, makes sense to spread things out a bit.
Exactly. So on paper, this Cherlapally thing seemed like, a pretty smart move.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at the pictures, it seems pretty impressive. Modern facilities, all that.
Oh yeah, when you first see it, it's all shiny and new. But then you start digging a little deeper. And, well, things get a little interesting.
Oh, how so?
Well, so the railway board, they've been busy actually shifting train services over to this new Cherlapally station.
They have.
Yeah, so like by the end of this month, April 2025, 5 trains that used to leave from Secunderabad, they're going to be moved over to Cherlapally.
Hmm.
And then on June 15th, the big one, the East Coast Express, that one's switching from Hyderabad station over to Cherlapally too.
Okay, so they're really making it a central part of the whole network then.
Yeah, and there's more. They're also going to reroute something like 13 other trains to pass through Cherlapally, and they're even launching 2 completely new train services that will start and end there.
Wow, so they're really going all in on this.
Definitely. So it all seems, great in theory, decongesting those older stations, everything. But
Well, what?
there's a big question here.
Okay, I'm listening.
How do you actually get to this new Cherlapally station?
Ah, yeah, that is a good question. You can build the fanciest station in the world, but if people can't reach it...
Right? It's like a party in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
So that's really what we're going to dig into today, the whole accessibility issue.
Yeah, how connected is this place, really?
Okay, so first off, you got to understand where Cherlapally actually is. And it's not exactly central.
Okay,
It's like way out there on the outskirts of Hyderabad.
so not exactly convenient for most people then.
Not really. It's like imagine you're going to a big event, but it's in a huge venue. And the main attraction is tucked away in some far corner.
You gotta walk for miles just to get there.
Exactly. That's kind of the vibe here. So right off the bat, there's a logistical hurdle.
Yeah, you can't just hop on the metro and be there in a few minutes.
Nope, not even close.
Ah,
So let's talk about roads and buses. The Telangana State Road Transport Corporation, they're calling it TGRTC, they've put in some effort. They've added 146 daily bus services to and from Cherlapally.
okay. That's a start, I guess.
It is, yeah. So from Platform 1 on the north side of the terminal, there's this 250C bus that goes to Secunderabad.
Hmm?
And the good thing is it runs pretty frequently, like every 10 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, and it hits a bunch of important areas along
Yeah.
the way. Kacheguda, Natharam, Ternaka, Malapur,
Yeah.
pretty good coverage.
Sounds pretty convenient.
And it runs for pretty long hours, too. Like,
Oh, yeah.
starts early, around 4:20 in the morning, and goes until pretty late, around 10:05 p.m.
Oh, wow. So pretty much covers the whole day.
Yeah, we actually talked to Kavitha, the depot manager at Chengachirla, and she confirmed all that. So that's the 250C.
All right, and what about other routes?
So from the south side of the terminal platform 9, there's the 113F/Z bus that goes towards Borobanda.
Borobanda, okay.
Yeah, it goes through Uppal, Ramanthapur, Narayanguda, Punjaguda.
Hmm.
But here's the catch. It only runs every 30 minutes.
Oh, so if you miss one, you're stuck waiting a while.
Yeah, exactly. So, for our listeners, it's all about thinking about their own needs, right? If
Yeah.
you got to get to or from Cherlapally, do these bus routes actually work for you?
Yeah, you got to factor in where you're coming from and going to and see if those buses really line up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now here's where it gets really interesting. The metro.
The Hyderabad Metro.
Yeah. It's like the lifeline of the city, right? Super efficient, avoids all that crazy traffic.
Yeah, that's usually the best way to get around.
Right, except guess what? Cherlapally doesn't have a metro connection.
Seriously.
Seriously. The closest metro stations like Kacheguda, NGRI, Tarnaka, Uppal, they're all like more than 10 kilometers away.
10 kilometers.
Yeah, so think about it. You get off your train, all excited to be at this new fancy station, and then bam, you realize you got to take a taxi or another bus just to reach the metro.
That kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
It does. It adds so much extra time and hassle.
Yeah, and probably some extra costs, too.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
So what about the suburban rail system, the MMTS?
The MMTS, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think a major new train terminal would have tons of connections to the suburban rail network, right?
Yeah, you'd assume that.
But not so much.
How bad is it?
It's pretty bad.
Okay.
So for trains going towards Lingampally, there are only 2 per day. One at 7:42 in the morning and one at 7:57 in the evening.
2 days.
Yeah, and if you're going the other way towards Ghatkasar, it's the same deal. 2 trains, one at 7:14 p.m. and one really late at 10:09 p.m.
Wow, so basically useless for most commuters.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You compare that to Secunderabad station, which has over 200 MMTS trains every day.
It's night and day.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like a tiny shop versus a giant supermarket.
So are people actually using this station?
Some are, but it's definitely causing some headaches.
Hmm.
We talked to this guy, George Benziker. He works at Deloitte, and he had quite the experience trying to get to Cherlapally.
What happened?
So he needed to catch a train to Chennai from there, but first he had trouble even figuring out which bus to take because of the language barrier.
Yeah, that can be tough in Hyderabad.
Oh yeah, for sure. So in the end, he took the metro all the way to Secunderabad and then had to catch one of those infrequent MMTS trains out to Cherlapally.
Wow. What a roundabout way to get there.
I know, and he almost missed his train to Chennai because of it.
Oh, man.
And his story isn't unique. We've heard similar things from other commuters.
Yeah.
One person we talked to, they didn't want to be named, but they said the buses are okay. But that half-hourly frequency on some routes is a real pain.
Yeah, you just miss one and your whole schedule's messed up.
Exactly. And they called the MMTS schedule teasing because the trains are so rare they're practically useless.
Ouch.
Yeah. So the general feeling out there is like, yeah, the station itself is impressive, but the lack of good transportation to get there is a huge disappointment.
People are not happy.
Not really. They want more buses, way more MMTS trains, and ideally a direct metro line.
Makes sense.
But the question is, why is it like this? You know, they spent all this money on this fancy new station, but they didn't think about how people would actually reach it.
You gotta wonder what their priorities were.
Right. Like the idea of an outer terminal to reduce congestion is fine in theory.
Yeah. Move some of the traffic away from the city center.
But if you don't make it easy for people to get to that outer terminal, what's the point?
You're just shifting the problem.
Exactly. It's like I said, building a mall in the middle of nowhere and wondering why no one's shopping there.
If it takes you an hour just to get there.
No one's going to bother.
Right. So the TGRTC adding those extra buses, that's a step in the right direction, but
But it's not enough.
not nearly enough.
Especially considering how big Hyderabad is and how many people could potentially use this station.
Yeah, 146 daily bus services sounds like a lot, but it's probably just a drop in the bucket.
And the MMTS situation, well, we've talked about that. It's basically a non-starter for most people.
So it seems like a real missed opportunity to integrate this new station with the existing transportation network.
Especially with the metro, they could have built a direct connection.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
Imagine you get off your long-distance train walk, a short-distance hop on the metro, and you're connected to the whole city.
Seamless, efficient,
That's what makes public transportation actually work.
but
Instead, we have this big disconnect.
it really shows how important it is to think about all these different modes of transportation together from the very beginning.
Holistic planning.
Exactly. You can't just build something in isolation.
Right. So on a slightly different note, there's been some news within the South Central Railway.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
So just a few days ago, on April 8th, they appointed a new principal financial advisor.
Who is it?
Her name is T. Hema Suneetha.
Mm.
She's been with the Indian Railway Account Service since 1993.
So lots of experience then.
Tons. She's worked at Southern Railway and even on the Bandafara project.
Oh, wow. So she knows her stuff.
Yeah, she definitely brings a lot of expertise to the table,
Uh-huh.
especially in financial planning and project management.
So maybe she can help address some of these issues at Cherlapally.
Yeah, hopefully her experience can guide some future funding decisions for improving connectivity.
It's at least a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, maybe things will change for the better.
Make it out.
So let's just recap for a second. We have this brand new, expensive, state-of-the-art train terminal. Right, Cherlapally. And the goal was to reduce congestion at those other main stations in Hyderabad.
Makes sense.
But right now, the big problem is accessibility. It's just too hard for most people to actually get to and from Cherlapally.
Yeah. And that kind of undermines the whole purpose, doesn't it?
It does. It shows that building a fancy building is only half the battle.
You got to connect it to the rest of the world.
Exactly. They did take some steps, you know, like those extra buses.
Right.
And maybe in the future, they'll improve the MMTS situation or even extend the metro.
Hopefully.
The commuters are definitely making their needs known.
Yeah, they want a better solution.
And they deserve one. So here's something to think about for our listeners. In a rapidly growing city like Hyderabad, what really makes for good transportation infrastructure?
That's a good question.
Is it just about big, impressive projects, or is it more about seamless integration, making it easy for people to get around?
Yeah, what's the balance there?
Right. You can have the most amazing train station in the world, but if it takes forever to reach it, is it really that great?
Good point.
It's all about finding that balance between those grand visions and the everyday needs of commuters.
Absolutely.
And that's something to keep in mind, not just for Cherlapally, but for any infrastructure project, really.
Yeah, food for thought.
Food for thought, for sure. All right, well, I think that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you all next time.
See ya.
Bye.